Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Reversing Hashimoto's and Thyroid Disorder Summit. I am your show host, Dr. Anshul Gupta, world's thyroid expert. I help people reverse their Hashimoto's disease by functional medicine plans. And I'm really excited for today's discussion because the person I have, is approaching very important aspects of Hashimoto's, which is the minerals. Minerals do not get the limelight they should be getting in improving our health, especially Hashimoto's and thyroid disorders. So really excited to talk about, minerals and a different approach, how you can actually replenish your minerals. But before we delve into this discussion, let me introduce our speaker today. So Carolyn Allen is a health survivor and mineral expert. Coming from a career in the corporate world, like many, Carolyn found herself struggling physically, mentally, and energetically. As a result of her journey back to health and years of deep study, Carolyn has become devoted to educating people about how minerals operate in the body, why we need to supplement our minerals intake, and the benefits of natural humic and fulvic acids, plant-based mineral substances for replenishment in the body. Carolyn is a great contributor to podcasts and health focus events and programs around the world. She's also the co founder and CEO of B Minerals. Carolyn, welcome over here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta.
And if you don't mind, I will just like to start a discussion with your own struggle and your own story because you have Hashimoto's disease and you became a mineral geek for a reason. So I would like to
Yeah.
know that, how all that happened.
Yeah. So it was about 10 years ago. And I was in a corporate career and I burned out. And at that time, I had flatlined adrenals. I'd had flatlined adrenals for about 2 years. As you mentioned, I have Hashimoto's and I had low thyroid. I also had really bad inflammation in my gut. Even after being gluten-free for 7 years, I could never get over the inflammation and with elimination problems and bloating, et cetera, in my gut. I had recurring sinus infections that every 6 to 8 weeks, I mean, it was really, really a struggle. I had had mold exposure, a really intense session of mold exposure, probably 5 years previous, and I was struggling to heal from that. I also had really bad inflammation in my mouth with deep pockets in my gums, receding gums, and bone loss in my teeth. I went to multiple dentists trying to figure out what was wrong with my mouth. And of course, it's a systemic issue. All of these things are systemic. So about that time, I was introduced to these plant-based minerals called humic and fulvic, and it's this person who introduced me is now my business partner in my company, Beam Minerals, and they were liquid minerals. And the beautiful thing about them is they didn't taste bad. They taste like water. So I just started taking them every morning. After about 2 months, I went to my dentist to have my teeth cleaned. I had to have my teeth cleaned 4 times a year because of the issues that I had with my mouth. When she looked in my mouth, after having my teeth cleaned with very little sensitivity, she looked in my mouth and she was surprised. She's like, "Oh my gosh, what is changed? The pH in your mouth is totally changed. The tissues no longer look red and inflamed. They are pink and healthy. What are you doing?" And I thought for a moment and I was like, well, I don't know. I think maybe it's these minerals I'm taking. So 4 months in, I went and had my adrenal test with my naturopath, and I was going in to review the results. At my previous appointment, she had recommended that I take hydrocortisone internally, which I did not want to do, and I never filled the prescription, but she thought I had, and she was like, "Oh, this is so great. That hydrocortisone is working." I was like, "Oh no, I never took that. I never filled that prescription." And she said, "But your adrenals are 1/3 of the way up the chart," and they had this natural sawtooth pattern. And she's like, "This is incredible," because we had been working for about 9 months with that particular doctor trying to heal these adrenals. So she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I think it might be these minerals." So over the space of about 8 or 9 months, all of those symptoms that I described, the elimination issues, the bloating in my gut, all the sensitivity in my mouth and the unhealthy gums, the sinus infections just stopped occurring. And I just started feeling more energy. The other side effect was that, or great thing, not side effect, which we think of as negative, was that I started sleeping through the night. So prior to that, I had really struggled with having waking up 4 or 5 times a night, so quite often, and really disturbed sleep. So I started sleeping well. So all of these things, of course, meant, I mean, they all cascaded into a positive overall effect in my health. And I was left with this incredible curiosity. How could these little cups of liquid, after going to so many doctors and so many practitioners and herbalists and you name it, to try and heal all these things, how could that little cup of liquid make such a difference? So that was the inception point for me.
Awesome. I think a lot of people over here who are listening to this conversation might relate to your story because, they have all these symptoms. Their adrenals are short, they're feeling tired, they have a lot of frequent infections, exposure to toxins. They have tried multiple things, not getting better. And there is definitely a big, big connection between all of these minerals and Hashimoto's and thyroid. So why don't we start with the discussion about what is, how the minerals play an important role in thyroid? What is this connection?
So, when I started studying, and I've spent the last 10 years studying minerals, studying all sorts of biosynthesis. I mean, I've given myself college courses in, graduate level courses so that I could really understand all the scientific studies that I was reading. Every time I'd find a word, I would just keep studying until I understood what they were talking about. So but the challenge when we're talking about minerals is that it's a very complex subject. So what I'm trying to do is bring the conversation to people in a very simple way. So what happened when I started doing this studying is the first kind of aha moment I had is that I had been thinking about my body as parts. I had a thyroid problem, I had an adrenal problem, I had a gut problem, I had a sinus problem, I had a mouth problem. But what happened when I started going deep down the rabbit hole was that I recognized that the entire body is made of cells. And it's an ecosystem with all these biomes in it, these specific, your mouth biome, your gut biome, in your sinuses, in your eyes, these are all biomes actually with specific, bacteria, beneficial bacteria, and all sorts of things that keep them healthy. And so when you have things like thyroid or you have things like adrenals, these are ecosystem issues. And you have to look at them holistically. You don't have to, but it's really helpful to begin to look at them holistically. So as I went down, I was looking for kind of what I call the theory of everything. What is the thing that connected my thyroid and my gut and my mouth and my sinuses and all these? And what I found was two things. One, that you have about 37 to 150 trillion cells in your body. And every single cell relies on two things. It relies on minerals and amino acids. Now, how does that work? Inside the cells, we have these things called mitochondria. I'm sure you, of course, know all about the mitochondria.
Mhm.
And the mitochondria are like these energy generating units inside the cell. Now, what we have to understand a little bit is the scale of the issue. So on the back of my hand here, in a single cell, there's maybe 1 to 200 mitochondria in one cell. In my heart, in a single cell, there could be 5 to 8,000 mitochondria in just one cell. And in my brain, in a single cell in a neuron in my brain could have up to 2 million mitochondria in a single cell. So you can imagine how much energy is being generated by these mitochondria in my entire bodily ecosystem at every moment to allow me to move my body, for my heart to pump, my lungs to go, my eyes are seeing and understanding all of the thinking processes, all of the autonomic processes associated with thyroid production and adrenal production and hormone production and moving the lymph and all of the different things in the body. Okay. So this was such an aha for me because what I recognized as I looked down at my own body is I recognized that my body had been mineral depleted for a very long time, probably since I was a child. So over a lifetime, these kind of small, things that only have a smaller impact, but over a lifetime, as you age, these become more and more issues because your body simply cannot produce enough energy because it doesn't have enough of the fuel, those minerals, to produce it. And so it has to pick and choose. And it says, well, okay, well, yeah, there's some inflammation in the gut. We'll just live with that because I can't actually clear it. And, we'll just produce just enough thyroid, or do the just enough transition from T4 to, or however, those details. We won't, we don't really need hair. Hair isn't important to life, so we'll let the hair go, and the nails, okay, and the skin, well, we'll just keep it alive, but we're not going to make it shine, and it has to pick and choose what it's going to do. So this is what people are experiencing more and more, and I'm sure you experience this as a functional medicine practitioner. People don't come to you now with one thing. They come to you with 5 or 8 things, right?
Absolutely. So, absolutely, you kind of pointed out very things very correctly is that, like we are a complete ecosystem and not like fragmented systems. Being a conventional doctor, that's what I was also told that, you have this like, GI system and endocrine system, and then kidney system and a circulatory system. But now I know that everything is interconnected and minerals play an important role. Absolutely. Like each and every cell of your body needs these minerals to work properly. And again, mitochondria, you're just talking my language. I am also a big proponent that in Hashimoto's disease, the major problem is this mitochondria, which is not functioning at the optimal level. And that's the reason people have all these myriad symptoms that, people get those that. So fixing the mitochondria is the root of the issue. So definitely, I do believe and the same philosophy that minerals are the core, mitochondria are the core. So I'm glad that you also realize it and you are working in this direction of how important these minerals are. But the question most people have, in my practice or whenever there is there, well, how did I become deficient in these minerals? Because I'm still eating food and these foods should have those minerals. So how did we get here where we are deficient into these minerals now?
Yes. Well, so there's a couple of reasons. Okay. So first of all, the sad fact is you cannot get enough minerals, all the minerals that your body needs from the foods you eat anymore. Now, I want to explain why this is, and because we've heard this before, it's kind of out in the news that our food is less nutrient dense. Why is that? So, first of all, let's think about this. If you look around your room right now, or wherever you are in the world right now, everything that is structural is made of minerals. Everything in your body is made of minerals. When plants grow in the soil, the way they create their structure, whether it's a small little pea shoot or a huge redwood tree, all of the structure in that plant is minerals. And where do those minerals come from? They come from the soil. So the plant literally uses the minerals in the soil to create its structure. When you're cultivating in the same soil, hundreds and in some cases thousands of years in the same area, that soil becomes mineral depleted. And the plants, though they still grow and we give them, all sorts of nitrogen and different fertilizers that make them grow large, then we have all these genetically modified foods that are huge strawberries and huge blueberries and things like that. But these foods are actually less nutrient dense. They're physically larger. They have more carbohydrates in them, but they have fewer nutrients. They actually say that to get the same nutrition from an apple that your grandfather ate, you would have to eat 6 or 7, some people say 8 or more apples. Okay, so it's substantial. And it simply makes sense because the plants have continually taken the nutritional elements out of the soil to grow. Now we take the plants over there and we eat them. And those in nature, a plant grows and it dies and it decomposes, and that mineral content goes back into the soil. But in our modern production farming kind of environment, that doesn't happen. It's very hard to get. So this is the next piece. Well, actually, the next piece, let's talk about water. So the reason so many, and I talk with practitioners all the time, every day, and they're all experiencing people coming in, not with just one problem, but with a myriad of issues. And what I say is that is because one of the reasons this kind of curve is going really radically up in the area of multiple chronic symptoms is because of this mineral deficiency, and particularly because now people are all drinking bottled and filtered water, which has no minerals in it. Some people drink mineral water, which is good, but most people are drinking bottled or filtered water, as you should, because there are pollutants in our regular water. The problem is that has greatly increased the amount of mineral deficiency that everyone's experiencing. The scientists that I've spoken to agree that probably 90% of the population in the United States, so we're not even talking third world countries where there might be nutritional deficits. We're talking in a first world country, 90% of the people are experiencing they're probably operating about 40% of the minerals in their body that they need for optimal function.
Wow, that
So if
number
you're
is
in the
huge.
room and you take the light and you just dial it down to 40%, dim it, that's how your body is operating.
Hmm.
So one of the easiest ways, and this is really a fantastic thing for practitioners because people come in with all these myriad of issues and you can't try and solve them all at once. But what you can do is provide mineral replenishment. And that's the next piece we're going to talk about. But you can provide mineral replenishment that can turn their dimmer up on their entire system so that their system can begin to start to clear some of that inflammation and do more biosynthesis for adrenal action or thyroid production or hormone production, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. And again, this is so important topic that, I keep on telling my patients the same story is that, our current food is deficient into vitamins and minerals. So it doesn't matter how healthy you are eating, you still will be deficient for various reasons. So absolutely very important point that everybody should be knowing. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
the next question is that a lot of people ask me this question is that how do I know which minerals I'm deficient into? They have been going to their regular doctors, being a conventional doctor, the labs are limited, right? The blood, is not the best way of checking a lot of these minerals. So,
Mhm.
again, talk about it like how people can get the mineral testing done. So at least have an idea about what and how much they are dealing with these deficiencies.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'm going to tell you is um, I'm going to tell this for every single person in the audience. You
Mhm.
are mineral deficient in some mineral or another. Okay. And the challenge is that the way that minerals work in your body, you need about 17 to 22 minerals. There's disagreement. So I say 17 to 22 minerals, many of which you've never heard of, like molybdenum, boron. People have heard of the kind of the electrolyte minerals, magnesium, potassium, calcium, sodium, these things. But you haven't, there's lots of minerals you've never heard of that you absolutely need. You absolutely have to have iodine, of course, as one of the main supporters of thyroid. The thing is, because of the way minerals work together, they don't work in singles. If you look out in nature, there is nowhere where there is a delivery of a concentration of a mineral. If you think about your gut microbiome and it's filled with all these beneficial bacteria, sometimes non-beneficial bacteria as well. It's also got fungi and microorganisms. Like it's filled with all this plant and animal life, cellular life. Okay. And when it's in balance, all those things naturally work in balance the same way a forest works. Okay. If you think about your gut when it's healthy, it's like a really thriving forest with, the forest floor is really healthy. There's lots of nutrients in the soil. There's enough water coming through with rain or maybe flowing water. There's clean air going through the forest, and the forest thrives. Now go take a wheelbarrow of magnesium as an example and just throw it on the forest floor somewhere. That's the equivalent of a person taking 320 milligrams of magnesium and putting it in their gut. What happens is the gut says, oh my gosh, we have a concentration here of way too much magnesium. We need to eliminate this. And so the body goes into this elimination process trying to get rid of the excess when what you're needing to do is actually replenish. So the paradigm shift that I'm bringing is an understanding that your body is an ecosystem and you need to use ecosystem tools for replenishment of nutrients into your cells. The amazing thing is that nature actually provided these tools because there has been cellular life since the beginning of, where we came from, right? All the cells in your body also evolved from single-celled organisms on this planet. And because the mitochondria were inside those cells, the minerals and amino acids and other nutritional elements had to get into those cells. So nature developed a technology for supporting that. And it's called Humic and Fulvic. Humic and Fulvic are plant-based. The reason I call them plant-based minerals is because they come from decomposed plants. So, and only freshwater plants, not saltwater things like, seaweed or things like that come from the sea, only from freshwater plants. Now, when we say plant-based minerals, we're not talking about like taking vegetables in your garden and grinding them up and drying them and making plant-based minerals. There are products like that out there, but that is not humic and fulvic, because humic and fulvic only comes from plants that have decomposed. And in the process of decomposing decomposed freshwater plants, it results in these two molecules. Now, many people have heard of humic and fulvic acid. That is a kind of humic and fulvic that has been extracted using hydrochloric acid. It's not a bad thing. It's used ubiquitously in agriculture, but it does not taste good. So it's not really great for eating unless you're taking it in a dry powder form as a capsule.
That's correct.
Okay. So humic and fulvic are two molecules. I really want to explain how they work because they are the game changer for replenishing minerals all the way into your cells. So let's talk about fulvic first. Fulvic is a very, very small molecule. It's much smaller than a cell. The beautiful thing is your body recognizes fulvic as a beneficial substance. It absorbs through any tissue that it touches because it's so much smaller than a cell. And it is a flavonoid. So a flavonoid is an intercellular transporter. And the fulvic is the strongest flavonoid that is known. And this is why. First of all, it's a very strong electrolyte molecule. It carries with it 70 plus minerals in the molecule itself, and it also can attract amino acids and other nutritional elements that are in your bloodstream, and they cling to it. Now, when a channel opens in the cell wall, any channel doesn't have to have a specific receptor site. The fulvic molecule goes straight through into the cell. Now the fulvic molecule does what no other molecule on Earth can do. It changes its polarity, and those nutritional elements and mineral content fall off inside the cell where they're available to all those mitochondria as cofactors for energy production. And that molecule carries like 60 times its weight of nutritional elements into the cell. So think about that light that was dimmed down to 40%. Think about how much it's going to be able to turn up because 60 times the amount of nutritional elements are getting into your cell where they can be utilized for energy production. So now this fulvic molecule is inside the cell, and it's now in an opposite polarity. It travels around the cell, picking up biowaste, toxins, heavy metals, viral detritus, um, nanoplastics, things like glyphosate, and those now cling to the molecule. The channel opens in the cell wall. The fulvic molecule carries those things out of the cell. Now it's back into the bloodstream, and it changes its polarity again, and it drops those things off in the bloodstream. What an amazing natural technology. It totally makes sense that nature would provide some sort of enhanced tool like this because cellular life on this planet has thrived, even under extremely difficult environmental conditions, because there's always been concentrations of negative substances that were not beneficial to cellular life. And there had to be ways to bring nutrition into the cell and bring those toxins and biowaste out of the cells. So just that alone, friends of mine who are really the world renowned scientists studying humic and fulvic, they call fulvic the God molecule because it has this incredible capacity. So for energy, for up-leveling energy in the body and bringing more nutritional elements into the cells so that energy production can improve, fulvic is the key element.
So
So
let me just kind of summarize basically like what you are saying is that instead of replenishing each and every mineral, like going after a supplement or myriad of supplements, you are actually fixing the process of getting the minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, or, like multiple of those inside the cells, which is where the mitochondria lives and which is where they are needed. And the humic and the fulvic is the way to doing it because these molecules move into the cellular structure. Along with that, bring all the minerals from the bloodstream into the cells. And then obviously, like whenever cellular structure is functioning, any kind of toxicants which are being produced, then they can just actually remove it outside the cell. Is that kind of correct?
that is absolutely correct. And here's one really cool thing. So the beautiful thing about those minerals that are associated with that fulvic molecule is that they are designed by nature in the same ratios of minerals that your body utilizes. So there's a lot of magnesium and potassium and calcium, what we call our macro minerals, the ones you need a lot of, but it also includes all the other minerals that you need in those natural ratios that your body needs them to be in. So taking fulvic and humic over time will naturally balance the levels in your body, the mineral levels in your body. So, the thing that I try to tell people is taking minerals one by one in pill form is like taking gas, a cup of gas, and putting it in the cup holder in your car. It's not going to get to where it needs to go so that it can actually fuel the vehicle. And instead, it actually creates a lot of smell and terrible, it doesn't create a good environment inside your car. So what we need to learn is how does the replenishment system actually work? Because, and this is one of the reasons I tell people doing a blood test to understand how much, what your mineral levels are is not useful because that's just transient. That only tells you what you've eaten and what's been absorbed through your gut into your bloodstream. But because we know now that minerals have to get into the cells, having a lot of minerals in your bloodstream might be good, but we don't know how effective that process, what we call assimilation into the cells, is working in your body. And when you eat bad fats and other issues, they can clog the lining of your cell, and they make that whole assimilation, that transportation of nutrients into your cell less efficient. Now, so now let's talk about humic because humic is also part of this whole story. So humic is different than the fulvic molecule, particularly in its molecular size. It's much larger than a cell. It hangs out in the bloodstream. And I like to imagine it like a Velcro ball. It's extremely sticky on the outside, and it's a very strong electrolyte molecule. One of the things that it does is it interacts, it just bumps up against cells. And when it interacts with the cell wall, it causes the cell to open more channels. So it's like if you're in a room and you have one door and one window, so much air and whatever can go in and out. But if you had four doors and four windows, you get more transportation of nutrients into the cell and biowaste and toxins out of the cell. So it greatly increases the efficiency of cellular function. It's truly amazing. Okay. But the other function of the humic molecules, we talked about that fulvic taking toxins out of the cell and dropping it in the bloodstream. The
Mhm.
humic molecule, it just travels through the bloodstream like a Velcro ball, and it just gathers biowaste, toxins, heavy metals, senescent, what some people call zombie cells, spike proteins, nanoplastics. It also does an amazing thing with glyphosate. It actually binds to the molecule and builds a film around it so it can no longer have its negative effects in your system. At a certain point, this humic molecule gets so heavy at a molecular weight that it falls out of suspension and it leaves the body through all of the elimination channels. So, as a functional medicine practitioner, I'm sure you've dealt with, issues of detoxification. And the
Mhm.
problem with a lot of protocols is they require certain channels to be open.
Right.
And they're clogged, then the detox process won't happen.
Mhm.
But the beautiful thing about Humic is it uses every single channel, which again makes sense from a natural perspective, because in nature, it has to just work. It can't say, oh, it's not going to work unless this or that is true. It has to just work. So it uses your tears, your snot, your sweat, your breath, your earwax, just sloughing off cells every time you just rub your hands together or shake, cells slough off the bottoms of your feet. And of course, the standard detox channels of your gut, your elimination channels. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it looks like, both of these molecules, like, work in conjunction and then, replenishes the intracellular level of your minerals, as well as also help in intracellular detoxification, of your cells, of removing all these different kinds of waste materials, which can be toxins, spike proteins, and other things which is accumulating. So that is very, very interesting. Now, obviously, people will have question about it, like, is there any particular way they need to consume it? Like, is it in the water form? Is it like in a supplement form, or is it coming through their food? Like, how do they, kind of get these two molecules?
Yeah. So first of all, tell everybody they already have some humic and fulvic in their body because you get it breathing it in. It's everywhere on Earth. So you already have some, and your body has very small levels of it. The best way to take it, of course, I think our products are the easiest and best way to take them, mainly because they're liquid. They taste like water. We have two products. One is called Electrolyze, and it is a fulvic product. And then we have something called Micro Boost, and it is a humic product. The nice thing about them having them separately is that if you are struggling with energy issues, if you're a performance athlete, the Fulvic, our electrolyzed product, is a great place to start. It tastes like water. You just add it. You can drink it in the morning or you can put it in your water bottle. You don't have to worry about taking too much, meaning if you're a performance athlete and you need to do electrolyte replenishment, it's an incredible tool for just overall electrolyte replenishment as well as full spectrum mineral replenishment into the cells. The MicroBoost product is really the detoxification tool. It does provide that full spectrum of minerals and all the micronutrients that you need, which is why we call it MicroBoost. But it's really the tool you would use to get the toxins out of your body. Remember, the fulvic does the intercellular detoxification, but you want to get those things all the way out of your body, and that's what the humic does. So we use them together. they become tools that you can use. So the electrolytes being, let's say you're going to the gym and you're going to work out really hard. You might after the gym or even before, you might take an extra half shot of the electrolytes. And when I say half shot, that's about an ounce. So it's a full shot is an ounce, and a half ounce is the standard amount that a normal person who's not super active would use. The
Mhm.
micro boost, same thing. You would take just half an ounce a day for a normal person. If you're a performance athlete, you might take more. If you're trying to get over night cramping, or which is a sign of mineral depletion, you might use more of it. The one thing I do want to tell you, just for your audience, is I have autoimmune. I have Hashimoto's. I also have another autoimmune issue. But interestingly enough, before I had long COVID, and before I had COVID, I never had any detox reaction to using the Humic. But ever since I had that, I will get it if I drink it straight. It's really easy to change that. All you do is drink it in a big glass of water over a period of time rather than just shooting it so it lands in your gut all at one time. For people who are extremely sensitive, maybe they've had mold exposure or they've had Lyme's or long COVID, so other autoimmune issues, there's a slow introduction method. So and you can access that via QR code on the back of the bottle. It'll also come, some information about it comes when you receive your package. They're very easy to take. They're excellent for children, fantastic for children because they taste like water. Children are the people who are getting hit the most with mineral deficiency, which is, one of the reasons we have our obesity issues and all of the chronic, the rise in ADHD and all sorts of other attention deficit kinds of issues, cognition and behavioral issues, because of an overarching or maybe fundamental mineral deficiency.
Absolutely. I mean, I think these are very intriguing things that you have shared over here. I'm sure people would like to know a little bit more about it so they feel comfortable and they kind of have the right knowledge. So, where they can find, more information about these products or what you're talking about.
Yeah, they could go to beamminerals.com, and we have a really great learn section. You can just see that in the top menu. And there's all sorts of articles that are cited for the people who are practitioners or who want to go deeper. They're all cited, so you can go through to the different studies and learn more. We also have a good YouTube channel with all sorts of videos with specific topics that might be of interest. So you just look for Beam Minerals, and that's like beam of light, Beam Minerals, uh, on YouTube. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely a pleasure to be on your podcast
Yeah, no,
or talk,
absolutely. I
your
mean, I
talk.
think, yeah, I mean, no, it's so interesting, like the topic that you have touched over here. I'm sure most of the people have never heard of it. So I will encourage everybody to kind of look at the research, look at all the materials, that Carolyn is sharing, on her YouTube channel. And then if it is useful for you, then definitely try it out because that can be big game changers, so thank you for sharing, this unique approach and obviously your personal, story into how you got into this, mineral deficiency thing. So thank you again for coming over here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, guys, this is it for today. We will have all the links in the description so that you can go and check it out. So please go get yourself more educated and look into these products. And this is it for today. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.